G'day guys, I'm Captain Deadmeat and welcome to the review of Predator Hunting Ground. But before we get into the review, why not hit a like button? Don't forget to subscribe because I release brand new content every single day. Okay, Predator Hunting Grounds is a game that is coming out very soon, but the creators decided to give us a free weekend so that we could go and check this game out. So I thought what would be really cool is if we jump on in and check out whether or not this is actually a game worth picking up. Before I continue my review, I think it is important to know that I am a huge Predator fan. I absolutely adore the films, especially the original, and I was looking forward to this game coming out, even to the point where I almost pre-ordered this game. And you know what? I'm glad I didn't. The game is a 4 versus 1 survival game. The 1 being the awesome Predator, and the 4 being 4 soldiers that are sent into a jungle environment in order to achieve a certain amount of missions before they can get to the chopper. Yes, I said get to the chopper and escape. Of course, while the 4 soldiers are doing their missions, it is the Predator's job to hunt them down and kill them before they can escape. So let's take a look at the 2 different groups. The first being the Predator. Obviously, because this was a beta, we only had access to the basic Predator. There is, of course, additional Predators and different loadouts that you can have as you continue to level up your characters. The Predator has lots of different types of equipment it can use to capture and or kill 4 players, and it should utilize those weapons in the environment so that it can do its job. When you first jump into the game, you'll notice that the Predator has a life bar and what is known as a energy bar. The energy bar is used up when you use any of the Predator's abilities, including using the shoulder cannon, his different heat-seeking modes, and of course his cloaking ability. This means that the Predator is not completely overpowered and at least give the soldiers some ability to be able to see and interact with the Predator. The Predator has the ability to climb up the trees very fast, moving from one tree to the next in a sort of parkour style, allowing him to get very close to his enemies without the enemies noticing. From there, the Predator can pounce down on top of them, dealing a deadly blow, or use his cannon and fire from a distance, although I found more close combat attack to be more effective. It seemed that the shoulder cannon used up a lot of energy in his energy bar, but did not seem to do a lot of damage itself. Being able to get up close and personal with the soldiers and deal that killing blow seemed to be fairly effective. Unfortunately, the Predator came with some issues. The first one of them being that during its parkour type style movement in the trees, that quite often I found myself getting caught between the intersections of one tree and another, making it hard sometimes to actually jump down on the enemy below. And I would constantly be jumping backwards and forwards from tree to tree instead of actually going for my target. His ground and pound attack also became a real issue when I found quite often when I landed on the ground, I seemed to end up in some sort of invisible box where I could not move. Whether that was because of the lag of the game or because of some sort of weird glitch, it was hard to tell. Sometimes I was able to break out of that and move away again, but quite often it was right next to a player and I found myself just being attacked by the players and easily defeated. The weapons themselves are fairly effective, although the energy meter, I think, actually depletes too quickly, which means that you become too vulnerable to the soldiers, especially at a time when they know where you are and they are chasing you down. It is sometimes quite difficult to actually recloak yourself and escape before they can actually take you down. However, having said that, it is a lot of fun playing as the Predator, jumping from tree to tree and finishing off your enemies. The fire team is made up of 4 players. If there are not 4 players available, you ended up with AI in your team, and that was a bad thing. Having AI in your team was completely useless. They wandered off in random directions, they got into fights when you were trying to do things quietly, and when they went to take on the Predator, I actually found a number of times they weren't actually firing at the Predator, they seemed to be firing at some random tree. The fire team itself also has different loadouts that you can choose from, ranging everything from your typical assault rifle to a sniper rifle and of course the more heavy weapon. This seems like a really good idea, being able to change your loadouts, although I found that the weapons didn't really do much different. The assault rifle and the heavy machine gun seem to do about the same damage. Once the fire team enters the game, they are dropped in by a helicopter to to go and achieve a certain amount of missions. In order to do these missions, they are usually things like going to a waypoint where they will have to collect information, set up a beacon, or wait for a airdrop to arrive. Once they have done those and dealt with the AI soldiers that attack them, they then move on to the next task. Once they have completed those tasks, they are then able to go to the extraction point. They can get onto a helicopter and escape. In the meantime, while they are achieving this goal and dealing with the AI soldiers, which were extremely easy to deal with, all the while the predator is somewhere in the jungle hunting them down. After a while, I found that there was no point in doing any of the missions at all. It was easier just to go and find the predator, end up in a gunfight with him, take the predator down, and win the game. Especially in the early stages of the beta, there were people that were playing the predator who had absolutely no idea how to use it, and it actually made it extremely easy to take down. But I am sure as the game would progress, there would be people who would become very, very good at using the predator, and that would mean doing the missions would actually be a viable option to win that match. But for the most part, hunting the predator was just easier. As for hunting the predator, at first when I started to play the game, the idea of hunting a creature that is invisible in a jungle was kind of daunting. You could constantly hear the sounds of the predator moving around, but you could not pinpoint it. It had that same feeling that the movie itself did. But once you started to learn where the predator would quite often end up, what to look for when the predator was cloaked, it became extremely easy to find the predator. His cloaking ability, while good from a distance, up close was pretty much useless. He stood out completely, which made it very, very easy for us to find him. I found the guns themselves to be fairly unusable. They didn't have a real proper aiming mechanism to them, and it became more of a spray in the general direction rather than a pinpoint accurate fire. The guns had a sort of floating feel to them, as did most of the animation of the soldiers themselves. The animation of the soldiers quite often lost frames and felt very generic and janky moving. And on a number of occasions, I actually noticed that both the soldiers and the AI soldiers seemed to almost teleport around the map, whether that was because of a lag that was coming through in the game or something to do with the game itself. It is hard to tell. The graphics had a fairly basic look to them, although the predator still looks like a predator to me. The jungle looked like a fairly nice jungle, but the overall animation of these things is what let them down. The audio of the game is fairly good. The music that comes through your headphones, of course, is the predator music. So unfortunately, you're probably going to get copy striked for that because it is copyrighted music. And the sounds of the jungle and the predator moving through the jungle are actually really, really nice. Listening to the sounds of the predator roar in the distance were very reminiscent of the film. And for the most part, I actually really enjoyed the sound. So overall, the game itself has a very basic gameplay, basic graphics, a simple system, but there are still a lot of bugs in this game. Between glitching out, getting stuck in places, and the overall frame lag, the game still has some issues. Now that would be okay if the game was coming out a little later, where they would have time to fix it, but with the game only coming out in a week or so, chances are when you purchase this game, you're going to experience the same sort of problem. Even while playing the beta, there were very long load times while we waited for games, sometimes between 5 to 10 minutes as we tried to find games. And maybe that was because there weren't enough people playing the demo, or maybe there was just some issues with the actual servers themselves. So my recommendation to you is, if you are a gigantic Predator fan and you really, really want to play a game where you get to play as a Predator, this is absolutely a game for you. You get to play as a Predator, you get to run around in the jungle, you get to hunt people and kill them in a Predator style way. If you like those 4 versus 1 type survival games, there are much better ones out there for you. And it is a shame. I really like the idea of this game. As I said, it was a game that I was going to pick up, and I probably will pick up at some stage. I just don't think it will be in the beginning when the game is first released. And hopefully, as the months go on, they are able to fix some of these issues, and maybe the game will be more playable. Anyway, guys, that is my review of Predator Hunting Ground. I hope you enjoyed the review. Of course, if you enjoyed the review, why not hit the like button? Don't forget to subscribe, and let me know in the comments below. Were you looking forward to this game? Were you planning on picking this game up? Are you still planning on picking this game up? And what are your thoughts on the Predator game? Anyway, guys, until next time, thank you very much, and don't forget to respawn.